quite eerie, this song. It's quite eerie. This goes back to 1974 and, of course, the Specials and Ghost Town is what it's called. I remember that era quite well in the 70s, and the reason that song was written was because the government was slowly closing down lots of nightclubs in places like Birmingham because there were so many fights and so much violence going on, so they were just shutting places down. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. This is NBBC and another broadcast from Jacko and the Rant Man, and sitting opposite me is Mr. Alan Rantman. Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Vietnam. 74 with the Specials there in Ghost Town. The reason we're playing that, of course, is today's podcast is all about very, very ghostly happenings to you, to me, to anybody. Anyone that we could find in the last 4 or 5 days that has got a story to tell. Both of us sitting here have got a couple of stories to tell.
Oh, yes, indeed.
We've also got a lovely young lady called Wendy Sue, who's coming on the phone very shortly to tell us a couple of her stories. And also, if I can get him on the phone today, Anthony, who I met a couple of days ago, who had an incredible story that was very freaky. Something that happened to him in an Airbnb in Darwin, believe it or not. One of the only houses that wasn't blown down in Cyclone Tracy back in 1974. And it was a woman that had died there that made herself apparently into a ghostly apparition, which he'll tell us about if we can get hold of him. Ghost Town, great song. The Specials, our first song today for the podcast. We got some good things coming up in regards to some very scary stories. As I've said on all of our podcasts before, if you've got something you would like to put into this, it's easy to contact us. You can email us at davej101@gmail.com, or you can send a text and we'll call you back on 0468 404 844. That's our studio number. So, Brian.
Yes. No, who's he? Who is this Brian of which you speak?
Oh, that's your brother, isn't it? He's not here today.
No, he's not here.
Oh, Alan's here. Sorry, Alan's here. I was just telling you which we were laughing about before we started this recording. That song there, I used to think when I was a kid, because in that there's a great big bit of trombone playing. I used to think that tube in the trombone used to disappear down the guy's throat. I used to say to my mum and dad, how do they do that? Look at that big long brass tube. Does that go right down inside his esophagus?
Yeah, they had those guys had part-time jobs as sword swallowers.
So that's what I thought. If you became a trombonist in a band, you have to have also the ability to swallow swords.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Right, let's start. We're doing a thing about ghosts today because we were discussing this a couple of days ago, in fact last week as well. We have so many stories to tell. Would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first, Mr. Rantman?
You go for it, Dave.
I go first. Okay, this is my experience a couple of years ago, which I thought was incredible, and we still talk about it every day. We used to go to a reunion party for a company called 20s Holidays, where I used to work as a rep. I used to work in Ibiza and Mallorca in Spain. Now, we went to this reunion where the head office used to be in a small town called Hereford, which is just on the border of Wales and England. Beautiful little town. So we arrive in this lovely old hotel. It's called the Green Dragon. And we get into our rooms and we check in. Karen, my lovely wife, was with me. Lots of other people there that we've not seen for so many years, and it was a great event to have. So the organisers said, look, we've got a few hours before our dinner this evening, so why don't you just wander out and go around the town and have a look about. Okay, off we went. Karen and I walk out the hotel, turn left, and we're walking down the street, and in front of us is this beautifully large cathedral-type building, so a big old church, gorgeous. We notice outside there's an A-frame. What they've done is they've built a cafe inside the church, but they've not actually bolted anything to this beautiful old stonework. They don't want to destroy any of the actual architecture. So they've got a thing like a pod, and they sit it on the ground inside the church. It's all built in sections, and effectively as you walk up to it, there's a serving hatch, and there's a woman behind there where she's got food. She's got a tea and coffee machine. You can go and order tea, coffee, something to eat, and out the back is a little kitchen, all inside this pod. At the back of it, there's a spiral staircase, and you can go up the staircase and you can go and sit and have your lunch on the roof of this pod. And at the front, it overlooks the altar and the whole of this beautifully huge church. So I said to Karen, let's get something to eat and a coffee, and we'll go up there and we'll sit down and have something to eat upstairs. Fantastic. So we order our tea and coffee, and we get something to eat, like a croissant. It was a ham and cheese croissant from memory. And we proceed to walk towards the spiral staircase. As I get to the spiral staircase with my tray, Karen's sort of next to me in front of me. She goes up the stairs first. I follow her up. And I just notice there's some people behind me following us up. They're going to go up the stairs as well. So we go up the spiral staircase and we're walking down the laneway between the tables and chairs. And I thought these people were following me. And we sat down right at the front and we're overlooking the altar. And it's a beautiful church, gorgeous old timber construction roof. The thing's about 1,000 years old. So I sit down and I feel a tap on my left shoulder. So I turn round like this to look who was tapping, because I thought the people that were behind me had come down behind me and wanted to get past to get to the next table. When I turned round, they had sat down way at the back. So they didn't even follow us down the corridor. They were about 20 yards away. And Karen looked at me and said, "What did you turn round for?" I said, somebody just tapped me on the shoulder. I thought it was them. But they're not even near me. They're 20 feet away, 25 feet away. And that was really, really quite weird, because I did feel a distinctive tap on my shoulder.
Creepy.
This could have been a calling. It could have been an angel. It could have been the devil. I don't know. It could have been baby Jesus. So anyway, that was my story, and it was something that we will never forget. It sort of freaked us out a bit at the time, but of course, being in a church, I'm just hoping it was a nice spirit.
Yeah, well,
like a bottle of scotch. I mean, that would have been a nice spirit. So come on, your turn, mate. Tell us a story.
Okay, I did tell you one at the end of our last podcast about my wife's earring that reappeared after 15 years. But I won't go over that one again.
Well, other people haven't heard it.
Have they? All right. Well,
just put that one on there now, because it's good to reiterate.
Yeah, okay, so a few weeks ago, it was my wife's birthday. Incidentally, her mother had passed away probably 12 months ago, a little bit more now. I was in the shower, and I came out of the shower, and my wife was in tears and freaking out. And I was, so what's wrong? What's happened? I thought maybe one of our dogs had died or something horrible like that.
Yeah.
Not the case. She said something weird is really weird has happened. I said, okay, what's going on? So she took me out into the kitchen, and in her hand she had a diamond earring.
Yep.
She said, look at this. And I said, yep, earring, thanks. She said, yeah, but this is really odd. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, I came out here earlier and it was sitting in the middle of the floor. And I thought, okay. And she said, but I don't know how it got here. And I still wasn't tweaking as to thinking, well, why is this so unusual? What had happened is, many years ago, 15 years ago, she'd lost a diamond earring. It had fallen out of her ear somewhere during the day. Her mother had given her the money to buy a present for herself. She actually spent it on herself for a change, which she doesn't do that often, and bought this pair of earrings. Beautiful pair of diamond earrings. Okay, she's wearing them around very proudly. Lost one. Very upset about it. Searched everywhere. Even pulled the guts out of the vacuum cleaner looking to see whether it was in there or not. No good.
As you would, yeah.
As you would. Yeah. So anyway, she's resigned to the fact that she doesn't have the earring anymore, so she put the single one that she had left, in her jewellery box. Anyway, she's come out this morning, 15 years later, and she's found this earring on the ground. It's got the backing on it, everything like that. She's thinking, how did this get out of my jewellery box to the middle of the floor? So she's gone back into the bedroom, got her jewellery box out, searched all the way through it, and found the other one. So she had two earrings in her hand, both with the backing on them. Now, she hadn't seen this earring for 15 years. That floor in there had been vacuumed and mopped probably a couple of 1,000 times since then. And the kitchen had been remodelled. We'd moved furniture in and out. We've done a whole bunch of stuff. And we're sitting there thinking, how the hell did this happen? We thought, well, looking around, could it have fallen out of anything? It couldn't have, because it had all been remodelled. Did it come in on one of the dogs? Was it outside in the grass? I mean, we're thinking all these sorts of things, just trying to work out what made sense. Nothing made sense.
Yeah.
But the kicker to this is, the big thing is, it still had the backing on it. Like the clasp that holds it together.
The keep, they call it the keeper, don't they?
I think so, yeah. So to lose an earring, that needs to fall off, does it not?
It does. If she lost it while she was wearing it, there is no way in the world that the keeper would be on it, because that means the keeper would have to go through her ear.
Exactly right. And that didn't happen. So
this has been 10, 15 years, and you've actually remodelled the kitchen in the meantime.
Exactly. Did her ex-partner from 15 years ago jump over our back fence, get past the 3 dogs, push his hand through the dog door and place it in the middle of the floor.
I doubt it.
I don't think so.
So that's really quite weird. So you think it was her mother's birthday, wasn't it?
Exactly. Oh, well, it was her mother had died a year prior.
Oh, yeah.
So we were thinking, the only thing I can come up with was Betty had turned up and said, "Here's your birthday present."
Oh, Betty. She's a darling.
Oh, Betty.
She really is. That's a good story. I like that one.
It was very weird.
Yeah, well, you see, you told me that the other week, but people who listen to this podcast wouldn't have heard it, but it's a very interesting one. And we've got lots more. Do you want to do another one? What was the next one you was going to do? Something really weird happened to you in...
Many weird things, but I've got a couple, but maybe you should... I just want to hear what Wendy Sears got to say, because we might double up with stories. So,
okay, all right. Well, in that
being
case,
that I know her very well, she knows Alan Rantman very, very well.
Does she really? Well, should we give her a call?
Let's
and see
do
if
that. And see if
I was going to play a song, but we'll give her a ring anyway, because we can do it live on air. You see, this is what is fascinating about technology these days, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mums and dads, is the fact that we can do this from. And there's a kookaburra in the background. Isn't that lovely and Australian? So we'll give this young lady a ring, because she's got some good stories to tell, and she's probably out worming her cats or something. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Is that you, Wendy?
It is indeed.
We can hear you loud and clear. You're coming through wonderfully on my little super duper telephone circuit here.
Have you been worming your cats?
Did you worm your cats, by the way?
Yes, I did. I got into the worming, and they're very happy for it.
Good girl. Did you delouse the dogs and your husband at the same time?
Yes, indeed.
Have you pushed him through the sheep?
Them all in a job lot.
Have you pushed him through the sheep dip that you keep in the back garden?
Yeah, job lot.
Good on you.
All done.
Well, listen,
Everyone's clean.
It's nice having clear intestines, isn't it?
Oh, goodness me! After a busy day, you know, we're just Alan Rantman and myself are sitting here talking about ghost stories and some of the things that have happened to us, and I know for a fact that something very special in this field has happened to you. Have you got a story that you can relate to us?
Well, I've got lots of little stories, I suppose. I guess ghostiness has been something that I've sort of felt since I was a kid. You know, that feeling of, like something's following you, or being scared of the dark and always feeling like something's there.
Yeah.
I think you're a bit more sensitive to that when you're a child, but you push it away because it seems silly to be scared, doesn't it? It seems too childish.
Yeah.
But if you sort of accept it a bit and open up to it,
well, what's a good one? Tell us a good one. What's something that's really freaked you out and you thought, no, this is not possible?
Okay. Well, while I was nursing,
yeah,
back in the day, in a very old ward at Prince Henry Hospital, middle of the night. I'm only about 20 years old, and I'm laying out one of my first bodies, and there was quite a ritual of what you had to do. You had this special glow bite bag with all the bits and pieces in it. We used to have something called horsehair, which was probably originally horsehair, but it was like that coconut kind of hair that you can get to use in your baskets in the garden. They had that in there. We had forceps, because one of the important things you had to do was to pack the rectum with this coarse horsehair coconut fibre so that the body didn't leak.
Nurses get all the great jobs, don't they?
Yeah.
So this is in the morgue we're speaking about now, are we?
No, we're in the ward, and the person's just died.
I see. He's just passed away. So
pack your rectum.
So we grabbed the.
Don't mind if I do.
So we grabbed the glow bite bag. And I got the student nurse I was working with. It was night shift. It was probably about 3 a.m. in the morning. We're all a bit, oh my God.
Yeah.
And off we go, and I'm trying to be, pull it together a bit and not be too, show that I hadn't laid out a body before. And anyhow, so we were just cracking jokes and trying to make light of it so that we didn't feel so nervous and scared. And, you don't see many dead bodies in your life. Anyhow, we're chuckling away and making all this, racket and laughing. And these long forceps that we had to use to stuff the rectum just went flying off the bedside table and hit the wall. And we both just looked at each other. didn't say another word, just got on with the job, packed it all up, and we got out of there. And I don't think we even spoke about it afterwards, but we got this sense that someone was there and was not happy that we were laughing at this dead body, this dead person, whether
Goodness
it was...
me. So there was some sort of kind of force behind the way these faucets slid.
And there was no way either of us could have done that.
Yeah.
We both looked at each other. They were quite a distance from where we were. Yes, this ward was known to be a bit haunted, and people would, this same ward, whether that was matrons saying, "That's dreadful, you girls, you shouldn't be laughing at dead body," or was it some spirit that was come to, see this person, or... But it felt more like an authoritative sort of like, "You naughty nurses." It felt more like maybe matron, a past matron.
Yeah.
Because on this same ward, the patients it was renowned, and they'd said it to me myself, that drips would be turned off. People would say, "Oh, who was that lovely nurse in the Vale who brought me a pan last night?" And there was always a lot of talk about strange goings on that ward. It was very old.
How many patients in that ward, Wendy?
Oh, there would be probably at least 20.
Oh, so it's a decent sized ward. It's a good sized ward.
Yeah.
And this is at the Prince Alfred here in Sydney, is it?
No, Prince Henry out at Little Bay. It's now a fancy.
I know the building. I know the building. Yes, it is. Yeah.
There's some very old buildings there. I think it was one of the heritage ones they had to keep, and So
that was called the Prince Henry. I knew it used to be a hospital because we used to go
Prince
to Little.
Henry,
We used to go to Little Bay. It's quite a nice little beach down there. It's quite lovely.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But it is interesting though that you said you had a feeling it was an authoritative figure. I think these entities tend to put that to you, if you know what I'm saying, make you feel so you understand who they are, don't you think? In a lot of situations, they try and let you know who you are by saying, like, I'm someone in authority. Because that's obviously what you thought.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to explain.
Mind you, if someone was stuffing my rectum with horsehair, I'd probably throw the tongs across the room as well. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
How do you think the horse felt?
Well, exactly. I take it it was still attached to the horse, was it?
It was a crowded room.
So there's a guy now just laying on his side. He's just passed away, and he's got a horse stuck to his arse. What kind of hospital was this?
Well, this was the sort of banter we were having. I was having with this nurse, to try and sort of like cheer us up and not make us feel so uncomfortable.
Bring the stress level down a little bit by being humorous.
Yeah.
Humorous, yes.
And then bang went those faucets, and we didn't say another word.
Oh God!
I'm not surprised. Well, that was a good story. I like that one. Have you ever been one of these people that experiments with something like a Ouija board?
Oh yes.
Have you done that?
You've had Ouija boards.
You've had seances and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We know what happens when you play around with those, don't we, Wendy Sue?
Yes, we do.
Is there something that really bad happened to you?
Well, we used to use the Ouija board a lot at Lane Cove in this house we lived in.
Yeah.
And
I used to go and visit, of course, being Alan Rantman.
Of course.
Yeah. And we'd probably created a few problems there, but I can remember lying in bed and having this sensation that it's hard to explain. It's like you can see and sense, although you're not looking, and I could see this bedraggled looking guy, looked like an old convict in bedraggled clothes and long hair, just standing at the bedroom door of my parents down the hall.
Leathery face.
And I remember, really sort of, leather. And I remember thinking, "Ooh, God, what is that?" And anyhow, I was coughing. I had a bit of a dry cough. And this thing, it was telling me to shut up because it was interfering with its concentration, or it was annoyed or something. And it just flew up the hallway to me. and its hands on my head and face and pushing my head down into the bed, and I wasn't able to call out or do anything. And when I finally got my voice to yell out, it went away.
Wow.
And it was strange because I thought, oh, you're a weirdo. And then I mentioned it to Alan Rantman.
Yeah.
And because he was living in the same house, and he'd had similar
Actually,
experience.
can I interrupt there?
Yeah.
I had been away at National Fitness Camp down in Jindabyne, and you had experienced that by yourself. When I got back to Lane Cove, you said you have to sleep in my bedroom in the other bed,
That's right,
in the
that's right.
other single bed opposite you, and I said why?
Yeah.
And you said you just have to, and I thought okay. And you said something had scared you, but you didn't go into detail. And I went, all right, fine. So for about a week, I slept there. Now, I had a bit of a cold when I came back from, bit of a chest complaint when I came back from Jindabyne. And I remember vividly seeing this face come to me in the middle of the night. The same face, the long, straggly hair, the leather face, leathery-looking face.
Wow.
Not leather face, but, leathery-looking face. And he actually went straight for my chest and started the feeling of him pushing me down and putting pressure on me into the bed.
So you've both had exactly the same experience.
Exactly the same. Anyway, I ended up managing. I've struggled and managed to yell out.
Yeah.
You woke up and you basically just said to me, "Did you see that guy as well?" And I said, "Yeah, what the hell's going on? What was that all about?"
Yeah.
And then we discussed it then, and you said, "That's why I want you to sleep in here, because I'm terrified."
that's right.
Oh, incredible.
Do you remember that now?
Can I, at this juncture, just ask both of you a question?
Yes.
This person that was in your bedroom there in Lane Cove with the leathery face, did he have horsehair coming out of his arse?
He still hasn't forgiven me. I made a racket because the horse was still attached.
No, he was a magician, and I asked him whether he could pull a rabbit out of a hat. He said no, but I can pull a hair out of my ass.
And he did, with a horse attached. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you very much.
We did do a little research into that, but I know you want to play a song, so we'll get back to that after the song. And should Wendy Sue hang around?
I think so. Wendy, is it okay if you hang around for a second?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to go and bleach my anus, but I'll be here.
Okay, you've got a busy day today, and you've been sorting out the cats. You're going to put your husband through the sheep dip, and now you've got to bleach your bum. I mean, this is really...
Yeah.
Thursdays must be a hell of a day.
Yeah, it's a busy
It's
day.
a hell of a day.
Yeah. Right, I'm just going to play a song, because I thought this would be very apt. This is Ardeen Taylor. There's a ghost in my house.
We'll meet you back here.
There's a ghost in my house. The ghost of your memory. The ghost of the love you took from me. Where our love used to be. Only shadows from the past I see. Time can't seem to erase the vision of your smiling face. Though you found something new, I can't get over you. There's a ghost
There's a Ghost in My Pants.
There's a ghost in my house. It was a great old song. It was sort of a bit of a spin-off of Motown back in, I think, the early 70s somewhere. Ardeen Taylor and There's a Ghost in My House. And since looking for some music for this podcast today, I actually found loads of stuff which is known in general as Northern Soul, and I absolutely love it. There's loads of stuff on there. Okay, we're on MBBC. This is our podcast for the day. We're talking about ghost stories and anything that's untoward that's happened to you regarding spirits, or any very, very weird things happening to you. We've had a couple of stories in there already. Online, we've got young Wendy. Can you hear us still, Wendy?
Can hear you, yes.
Is that line any better? Because I've used a different phone number now. Is that any better? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, it's better.
It's all right. Now,
Much better.
just while we were playing that song there, you were talking, or Alan was talking about some thing that you looked into, the old house behind your place. What was that all about?
Do you remember this?
Ooh. Yeah, there was a big estate. It looked like where we were living was land that was part of the estate of the big old house behind us,
That's right.
I think.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on it back then. And apparently he was the landowner in the area at the time in mid to late 1800s. And where our house was situated was the servants' quarters.
Oh, right. So there was some serious history to where you were living. Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether you remember, but in your mum and dad's bedroom, there was a corner of the bedroom that always had cobwebs in it, and they'd clean it off, and they would come back immediately. Within 24 hours, it was like full-on cobwebs in there. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're called spiders,
Yeah.
Alan.
Okay. Just on another point, I think we should get a T-shirt out with something about horsehair on it. I think
you
three
could
of us
be.
need to work on that
you
at
could
some
be.
stage.
You could be right. Can while we're on this subject, we've got. I take it you've got another story you can tell us in a few seconds, Wendy. Is that right? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Just let me tell you this one, because this one was.
I was just going to tell you why, actually, before you get into
Oh,
that.
sorry. Why?
Yeah.
What? Oh, the cobwebs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you finished that story. Go on.
It's what has happened there is the guy who was harassing us in our sleep was the stoker of the boiler for the big house.
The stoker. Yeah.
Exactly, and he had died of TB, which is a chest infection.
Yeah.
And that's why he was targeting us in the chest area.
Oh, you found all this on
Yes, I
some
found
sort of
this all
records
out
on
in the Macquarie University Library, as a matter of fact.
Oh wow. Okay. So this is before the internet, then, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
Well, let me tell you an experience that I had. Another one. This is only a very flippant one though, because it turned out to be a bit of a joke actually. Back in 1999, I think it was, I'd found the little pub in East London that I wanted to buy and renovate, because I remember renovating buildings all over the place. If I saw something that was falling down, a renovator's dream, as they describe them so aptly in Real Estate Windows, it's right up my street. So I found this little pub, and there was a little fellow in there running this place, and he wasn't doing very well. Where was he from? He was from Jamaica or somewhere. And I remember to this day when I walked in there with Karen and my Sam was only a baby in a basket.
Him, did you?
I divorced him, yeah. And I remember this little kid, his name was Junior. He ran this pub and he said, "So you come to buy my place?" Yes, okay. So we went upstairs and had a look around the building. And Karen, with the baby in the basket, our son Sam, would not leave the bar. She didn't want to come upstairs because the place was filthy. It was a disgusting building. But for me, I could see potential by renovating it. Upstairs I went. First floor, there was a kitchen and then a little bedroom and a living room. Then there was a little tiny narrow staircase that went further up. On the top floor, 2 more bedrooms and a bathroom. And this little guy, Junior, said, "We don't go into the back bathroom. We don't go into the back bed." I said, "Why not?" He said, "It's cold in there. It's freezing cold. And the dog," he's got a dog and a cat there, "the animals won't go in there." I went, "Oh, really?" So I opened the door and had a look in. I didn't go in. But it was really cold. And I thought, oh, this is a bit odd. So anyway, we buy the place and I start to renovate it. And I'm listening to a radio station, which is now called iHeartRadio, which is worldwide. It's in London. It was called Heart 106.2. They had a competition on there called Battle of the Sexes. And I thought, this sounds like fun. I'll ring them up. And I rang them up. And they said, "Wow, Dave, where are you calling from? This telephone line is incredible." I I said, well, I'm in Hackney in East London and I'm renovating an old pub. And they said, one of the guys said, if you're in an old pub, you've got to have a ghost story. I said, well, as it turns out, I have. When I came to look at this place, the little guy that was there showing me around said the back room was very cold and the animals wouldn't go in there. And I went up there and had a look in the door, and I must admit it was freezing cold, and the dog and the cat would never go in there. And so this guy called John Edwards, who was one of the presenters, said, what did you do? Did you find somebody from the church, like a clergyman or a vicar, and have the whole place exorcised? I said, no, I just fixed the broken window and put central heating in, and it was all right then. And that's a true story. That's exactly
The dog and the cat were happy to go in there after that, weren't they?
Dog and the cat weren't with me then. I just thought I'd share that with you. So come on, what's another story you can tell us, young Wend?
Well, I've got lots of little ones, but we lived in a big old Federation house in Burwood in the Appian Way, and the hallway was huge and big old heavy doors, and there was this one particular room, it was a bedroom, and you'd go to open the door and you could feel the sensation of someone pulling it so that you couldn't open the door. Like you got this sense that it wasn't just sticky or a bit heavy, that someone was pulling back on it, not wanting you to come in.
Oh, really? God.
Yeah. And the front two rooms were creepy. You just went in there, you never felt comfortable. No one would ever talk about it, but no one wanted to spend much time in there. It was the room to get out of.
Oh, wow. And this was your family home, was it?
Yeah.
It's your family home in Burwood?
Yeah. It was my sister's home, and she'd gone to live overseas, and so we were living there at the time, minding the house.
Yeah.
And there was also there was sort of a strange sensation. It's sort of almost like it's out of the corner of your eye, and I would see a woman in a broad-rimmed hat with gloves on, but, like in her gardening clothes. And she was just sort of like passing through. She wasn't interested in you. She was just there.
Yeah.
And didn't give you any sensation of being bothered by you being there. She just was there.
Yeah.
Whereas the thing that was holding the door back didn't want you coming in. There was sort of an anger to the feeling.
And you think was she a previous resident or something? Do you think, was she?
Probably, yeah. Probably a previous.
Oh wow!
Something.
This is reminding me of that film with Nicole Kidman. Do you remember that? The Others.
Yeah.
That was a good movie. That was a great movie.
The best thing she ever did, I think.
Fantastic. That's the twist at the end. I just thought, this is incredible.
Oh, I loved that. Yeah,
and that had a very famous old British actor in it called Eric Sykes. He played the gardener.
Oh yeah.
He was brilliant. Sadly, not with us anymore.
I only saw that about maybe 10 years ago, and I hadn't seen it when I lived in this house. But yeah, it does have parallels, that sort of business.
Yeah, fantastic. Wendy, thank you.
My little toddler, Ellen, in that house, I can still remember where she was. She was up near these front rooms.
Who was she? Who was she?
Ellen, her daughter.
Ellen, my daughter.
Oh, your daughter, right, okay, sorry, yeah.
Two
or
three. She started speaking in French in her little words. She was talking about the lapin, a rabbit, and I thought, what's she talking about? And I realised she was saying these French words. So I don't know what that was about.
So you don't know where she got these words from?
No.
So she was speaking...
I was in that house, in that hallway.
She was saying French words, and she'd never actually spoken French or even...
She was only 3, yeah. Never been around anyone French.
Isn't it odd?
Yeah, so
I like all this.
There were a couple of odd things that happened in that house.
Yeah. That's excellent. Well, thank you very much, Wendy. That was wonderful that you're online and chatting to us. Unfortunately, the telephone line isn't that good because I've got a very small signal here. We're in North Kirkcurl, and everybody knows that if you've got a mobile phone or the internet, reception here is really quite bad. But nobody will do anything about it because the phone companies have said, we'll put a mast up. Then all the local residents said, no, you're not, it's ugly. So we've got to put up with very, very small amount of signal. So there you go. But listen, thank you very much for talking to us. You go back to your horsehair and worming your cats and.
I've got a t-shirt idea.
Yeah.
We should have a t-shirt saying Well, you can stick your horsehair up your bum.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we could do that. We could sell that on Amazon.
Or nursing. I'd rather stick horsehair up my bum. Something
Yeah.
like that.
See,
Or someone else's.
I didn't know you had to do that as a nurse. So that's what you've educated me today, mate. That's quite amazing for a young girl.
They deserve more money.
It was.
They do.
They deserve more money,
Yeah.
especially when
Yeah.
you're dealing with
What do
horsehair.
we want?
More money
Yeah.
now. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
what
with
about-
you.
What
Let's
would-
horsehair.
What would Trump say about that particular scenario?
Terrible people, the nurses.
Terrible.
Terrible people. Great horsehair. Great bum hole.
Tremendous.
Terrible. Tremendous horsehair.
Right, he's making
fake horsehair.
he's making it up as he goes along now. Wendy,
Terrible.
thank you very much. You go back to your daily routine, and thanks for talking to us. That's lovely of you to
Don't
spend the
forget
time.
to
Thanks,
vote
Dave.
red.
See you, Rantman.
Missing you.
Bye.
Don't go changing.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now. Isn't that amazing? See, I didn't realise that the nursing staff had to do all that sort of thing. That's quite incredible, I suppose.
They got terrible job.
Yeah, I know,
Hard job.
Well, let's play. After talking about your previous houses over there in Burwood, we've got a song here by Tegan and Sarah, "Walking with a Ghost." We'll just pop this on for a few minutes while we get up the next couple of stories. What do you think? Is that a good idea?
I like it.
Yeah, here we go. Tegan and Sarah.
No matter which way you go, no matter which way you stay, you're out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind. I was walking with the ghost. I said, please, please don't insist. I was walking with the ghost. I said, please, please don't insist. No matter which way you go, no matter which way you stay, you're out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind. I was walking with the ghost. I said, please, please don't insist. I was walking with the ghost. I said, please, please don't insist. No matter which way you go, no matter which way you stay, you're out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind. I was walking with the ghost. I was walking with the ghost. Out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind. You're out of my mind, 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 out of my mind. I was walking with the ghost. 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 I was walking with the ghost.
Okay. Good song, that. I like that. It's Tegan and Sarah, quite a new song. It's called Walking with a Ghost. And I think after our last story with young Wendy on the phone lines there, to talk about somebody with regards to ghosts in their house. And that's what we played the other song for earlier in the day. If you just joined us, welcome along. This is the NBBC, Northern Beaches Broadcasting Company. Terribly lovely British name, you know. And we're making a podcast today all about ghosty experiences and the things that you may have experienced in your life with spirits or the undead and all this sort of different ways you can describe this sort of stuff. If you've got something you'd like to put into the show, you're more than welcome to do so, because we do add to these podcasts, and then we will be re-recording some of them with more material in. You can get in touch with us either by email. You can email davej101@gmail.com, or you can send a text or even call, but I doubt whether anybody will answer the call if you ring. Just text and we'll call you back. 0468 404 844. That's the official studio telephone line. Unfortunately, where I'm sitting right now, the signal is rubbish. Anyway, Mr. Rantman, let me just tell you something about what I watched the other day.
Please do.
And it's on YouTube, and you can find it, and there are some great stories, and it's called Ghosts of the Underground. Ooh. And this is the underground train system, of course, in London, which has been there for over 150 to 200 years. I think the first underground train was built about 1830 or 1840, somewhere around there. And these boys and girls who work on the underground obviously have to look after the system once it's closed down. The last train leaves most stations at about midnight. Sometimes they run a little bit later if there's some special thing on in London, like a play or an exhibition or a concert. That's the word I was trying to think of. But when they close the railway stations down, all the stations are locked shut. They've got those big gates that go across. And I'm watching this show, and I've got to tell you this one particular incident, and I think it was Embankment Station, which is down right by the Thames. There's a guy sitting in a control room, and he's got all these TV screens in front of him, and of course he's monitoring the platforms. He sees a man standing at the end of the platform wearing a white, one of those suits that they wear when they're sort of like NCIS, you know,
a hazmat
suit, yeah. And he's got a hat on, but this hazmat suit on. So he's thinking, there's a guy down there. How did he get into the station? Because we've locked everything up and we checked everything. There's no one there. So he's on the radio to his mate who wanders around the station and all the platforms and just checks out, make sure there's nobody locked inside. And he says, I can't remember what his name is now, but it's on this YouTube video. You can check it out. He says, Bob, would you, this is control to Bob, over, 10-4. He says, yes, mate. He says, can you go to platform 1? I've got a guy standing at the end of the platform, and he's wearing a white hazmat suit with a hat on. I don't know what he's doing there or how he got there, but can you go and ask him to leave or just show him on the way? He says, yeah, I'll go and have a look. He goes down there, and he's standing on that platform, and there's no one there. So he gets back to the guy in the control room on his two-way radio. Hello, John, over. Can you receive me, over? 10-4. He says, yeah, there's no one here, mate. He's not here. I don't know what's happened to him. He's looked down the tunnel, couldn't see him. And the guy who's looking on the TV screen says, mate, no, he's still there. He's standing next to you. Oh. So the guy, now that makes me, makes me tingle when I say that. So the man is on the platform looking around. He can't see anybody. He's even looked up the tunnel to make sure he's not run down the tunnel. And the guy in the control room can see the screen, and the man is standing next to him. And he says, where? To your left or your right? He says, no, he's just to the right of you. And he said, he's not here. He said, well, no, he's gone. And the guy on the screen has disappeared. And then when this guy turns around, there's a white hazmat suit and a hat on the bench seat behind him.
No.
And that, he
Any
said...
horsehair?
No horsehair. No horses. But honestly, that's making me tingle.
Really?
Just talk about this. I'll give you the link on YouTube. It's a fantastic video. You've got to watch it. And if you want to find it yourself, just search in YouTube Ghosts on the Underground, because there are some phenomenal stories. And these are people that are not telling these stories because they want any sensationalistic recognition. They're just telling these stories because they work there all night and these things have actually happened to them.
Yep.
So there's got to be more to it than meets the eye. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can deny all this all you like, but if you don't think they walk amongst us, then I don't know.
Well, we don't know, do we? Let's put it this way. We've got our five senses. Is it 5 or 6 senses? Something else, isn't it? You know, touch, smell, sight.
Passing wind,
horsehair,
eating your own earwax,
and exactly, and if you can't sense what something exists that's outside those senses, you wouldn't know whether it's there or not.
Yeah,
this is what makes it fascinating for me.
Plus, we allegedly only use a small amount of our brain anyway, so some of us can receive these things and some of us can't.
I've only used a very small amount of my brain for a very, very long time, and this is why I worked on radio. It's television for ugly people.
And that's why I was a chef for nearly 40 years.
You are such a silly man. Anyway, so do you have another story? Because I think I might have another one. I've got another one which is quite interesting.
Mine was the one, as I told you, at Katoomba. I don't know whether you want me to tell you that one or not.
Katoomba, I can't remember what it was.
I was just telling you before about the past life regression thing.
Oh, this woman. Yes, indeed. Yeah, tell me. So you met this woman in the street or something, didn't you?
Yeah, at the time I was living in Katoomba, and I was working at the Q Theatre in Penrith as their front of house manager. So just welcoming all the guests, getting them seated, and then basically running the joint.
Yeah.
It was a good fun job. Got to see a lot of talented people. Anyway, at the time there's a guy named Henry Zepps, who some of you out there might know from a great show with Gary McDonald called Mother and Son, and he played the younger son, Robbie the dentist, who's a bit of a jerk. Anyway, Henry's a brilliant actor, and he was doing a one-man play there. And the show had been going really well. Anyway, a day off, I was taking my Labrador, Dexy, for a walk, and we're walking along, and this little old woman made a beeline for me, came straight across the road, and she was already talking before she even got anywhere near me, and she was talking about the dog and how lovely she was. And
she'd come to see the dog, yeah. People do that.
Yeah,
She
came over and she was just talking about how wonderful Dex was, and I went, she's a Sagittarian. Just being flippant. And she went, and she started telling me all about Sagittarians, and I said, you should do this for a living. She said, well, actually, I sort of dabble in this sort of stuff a bit. And I went, oh, righto. Yeah. She said, I used to be an actor. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, I work at the Q Theatre. And she said, oh, what's going on there at the moment? I said, oh, well, Henry Zepps is on at the moment doing a one-man show. And she said, I know Henry. I know him really well. I used to work with him. I used to act with him from time to time. And I went, oh, wow. I said, well, you should come down and see the show. And she said, look, I'm a pensioner. I couldn't afford it. And I said, well, hey, I'm the boss. So I decide who comes in and whatever. So you come and see me. I said, I'll make sure you get looked after. And she said, oh, thanks so much. And she was really, appreciative. And off she went. Yeah. And I thought nothing of it. About a couple of weeks later, she turns up. Yeah. So, oh, Emma, how are you? Come on in. Got her in, gave her a glass of wine, treated her like come on down.
Have this clump of horsehair.
Yeah. Well, she brought her own. You never know when you got to stuff an anus or something like that with horsehair. You just never know. Yeah. And that comes up every now and then. Anyway, she was wearing the T-shirt too.
It's available now in Cole's New World. Anal stuffing.
Australian made, of course.
Thank God for that.
So, anyway, she saw the show, and at the end of it, Henry would come out to the bar and talk to a few people, because he's a big star. Anyway, he saw Emma and went, Emma! And they had a marvellous conversation. They talked for hours and hours and hours. And then basically she had no way of getting home, so I gave her a lift all the way home to Katoomba. Anyway, she was really appreciative, and she said, look, I do past life regressions. Are you a skeptic? Are you open to this sort of stuff? And I went, no, I'm open to that. And she said, well, as payment, come around next Wednesday and bring a audio cassette. Remember those kids?
Yes.
Audio cassettes. She said, bring that with you, and so you can record what's going on and what's been happening. And I'm thinking, okay, this should be interesting. Went round the next Wednesday. She put me through a series of exercises, relaxation exercises, and then basically I was in a fairly tranquil state. I was just relaxed. It wasn't like I was under being hypnotized or anything. I knew exactly what was going on. Yeah. She started asking me to see, could I see anything, and all these visions started coming to me as in picture form. It's like it was on a stage, like a projector, and then I basically saw myself being about 17 with long curly hair, a ribbon tied in the back of my hair. And she said, what can you see? And I told her, and she said, what time period do you think this is? And I said, about 1850 or so. And she said, where are you? And I went, I'm in America. And she said, what are you doing there? And I said, I'm living on my father's cotton plantation. And she said, okay, yeah, and what else is happening? And I said, he's got a lot of black workers working for him. They all like him. He's treating them really well. She said, what else is happening? And I said, my mother has recently died and my father's remarried a young woman, like only 2 years older than I. So we didn't get on very well and I didn't like her. All these pictures and thoughts were just coming into my head while I'm sitting there. Yeah. Anyway, and she said, okay, go forward 5 years. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, I've just left university. And she said, what did you study? And I said, law. And she said, so how's that going? And I said, well, not particularly well. And she said, why? And I said, because I'm a public defender and I was doing all my work pro bono. And apparently, according to this, I was defending black people. Yeah. So never winning and not getting them off anything, but having a crack. Yeah. And she said, are you gay? And I went, no, I have a girlfriend. And she said, so what's happening with her? And I said, I'm too busy with my work to pay the relationship too much attention. She said, go forward another 10 years. Oh, no, actually, she asked me, she said, do you have a name? And I said, yes, my name's John Barrett. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, and she wrote that down, and that was like on the tape. Anyway, we went forward from there. She said, go forward another 5 years. And I said, it's black. And she said, why? She said, because I've died. She said, how did you die? And it was from cancer, from smoking, because apparently I smoked.
Yeah.
And I did smoke at the time when this was being done too. So anyway, that was the end of the whole thing, and basically she gave me the tape, and we had a bit of a chat about this and that, and apparently there was I had been there according to this information. Anyway, I was a little skeptical. Went home, told one of my other sisters who was a skeptic. She went to the Mitchell Library in Sydney and looked up the law list from the US.
Yep.
1850s. So 1850 to 1860, there was a John Barrett who was a public defender in Atlanta, Georgia. He did exist.
So you didn't know
I
anything
didn't know
about
anything
this?
about this. I knew nothing
This is
about it.
fascinating, isn't it? I love all this stuff. This is just incredible.
Consequently, various things have happened to me in my life since then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
What, are you still defending black people? And are you still
No,
pro?
I deal
are
in
you
horse hair now.
Are you pro bono or do you hate you two?
I hate that band.
Yeah.
I do. Overrated rubbish.
Yeah,
But that's my opinion.
yeah. Well, yeah. A lot of people like them. I don't know.
No, a lot of things have come from that, but that's
Isn't
another-
that fascinating? So you knew nothing about this.
I
It's just
knew
all come out of
nothing
this
about it.
regression. Yeah.
Yeah, knew nothing about
I
it.
take it this woman wouldn't still be around today, would she?
Emma was probably in her 70s then, so that was
So
I was
doubtful.
30, so not 30 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, in that case, no, she wouldn't be.
No.
What a shame. She sounds like a wonderful
She
woman
was
to me.
brilliant and a really interesting woman.
On the same tone, and I should perhaps go back and have a chat to her again. I started to do what I was doing a couple of years ago, and that was interview Second World War veterans.
That's
I
right.
find them very fascinating. They're lovely, lovely people to talk to. And a friend of mine on Facebook said, "Go and chat to my auntie. She's gorgeous, and she's an actress, and her name is Vola Van Dier." And she lives over just the other side of French's Forest here in Sydney. And she was a fascinating woman. And she told me all about her life when she was working as an actress and she was in various films, whatever. But I never actually approached her about anything like this. But I think that there would be some stories that she could tell. So I might have to go back and have a little chat to her again. She was a lovely, lovely woman. And I went over there probably 3 or 4 times. She made me lunch and we had cups of tea. It was really quite terribly lovely. And I've recorded all this. And I am actually going to put it into a program. I just haven't done it yet, unfortunately. But of course, then all that stopped because of COVID-19. I couldn't go and visit these people anymore. The old age pensioners' homes were all out of limits, and you can't go near anybody in case you infect them. And of course, they're very vulnerable because of their age. But there you go. So, we're just going to play another song, I think, and I think that might call it a day. Unless you've got any more you want to tell. There was one I was going to tell, but I've forgotten what it is.
We'll play the song. We'll see what happens.
We'll
have
play
a
the
chat
song.
about
If we can come up with another one, we'll do a little bit more. Then we'll call it a day. I think a great song here from the Police, and this is "Spirits in the Material World."
There is no political solution to our troubled evolution. Have no faith in
was going to play again, that song. Don't play again. We don't want you twice. The Police there, Spirits in the Material World. We're talking about ghosts today on our podcast. I think we've sort of come to the end of our program now. It's about an hour, which is actually pretty good. I was sort of aiming for about 60 minutes, and I think we managed to achieve that with a couple of good songs thrown in for good measure. We would like to hear from you. If you've got anything you'd like to add to this show, because we can make it again and we can include you, send me an email, davej101@gmail.com, or just text me and I will call you back, 0468 404 844. Alan Rentman,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your input today.
Look, my pleasure being here.
And
David, as
sitting
always.
there with that hat on and those glasses, you know, you remind me of Ivan Brackenbury.
Aye.
Hospital
Hospital
Radio.
DJ.
If you've ever watched the 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, Ivan Brackenbury, he's one of our favourite guests on the show.
He's got curly hair, though. I don't have any.
Don't matter, he got a hat on.
Oh, true. Yeah.
He has a hat on, and when he's got a hat on, you can't see. Who cares about hair anyway? But you can't see your hair. So anyway, this has been NBBC, the Northern Beaches Broadcasting Company. We have got a little studio here in North Curl. We make lots of little podcasts. This is our 4th now, and we'll be doing lots and lots more, normally about a particular subject, and we'll think of another great subject. If you've got any ideas on a subject that you would like to hear podcast about, and if you've got an interest in it, you can even come on the show. It's easy. Once again, just send me a text on 0468 404 844, or just email me, davej101@gmail.com. It's easy, isn't it?
What about... We were talking about useless but amusing facts.
We'll do that in the next one, yes. Useless and amusing facts will be part of the show in general when we haven't got a subject, I think.
Like Humpty Dumpty not being an egg.
Humpty Dumpty was not, in fact, an egg.
Not an egg.
Not an egg, yeah.
I'll have a rant about that next time.
You can do that next
I'm
time.
very cranky.
Right, whatever you're up to, have a great afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. This will be somewhere on YouTube and somewhere on many other websites as well. Believe you me.
Love you, miss you,
Yeah,
don't go changing.
Don't go changing. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Stop.